you go, okay, what's he do? Well, he is a tech bro, right? So that's an automatic evil. And oh, by the way, he's the richest man in the world. That is, if you went to central casting, what they want. And he takes so many arrows for Trump. And he likes it, right? Like now,
I was going to say, he seems to be a big fan of that.
He does. I mean, well, and he gives as many as he gets to, which is phenomenal. I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. But he does give Trump something he's never had. Trump, look, as much as people get mad at like Steve Bannon, who, by the way, if you guys like Steve Bannon, great. Steve Bannon hates Elon Musk. Cannot stand Elon Musk. Believes Elon, in many ways, he believes what the Democrats, he's a giant threat to a lot of stuff, especially the MAGA movement. And so that's a bizarre situation right there. But Bannon was not the wingman, right? Mike Pence wasn't the wingman. So you start looking around, and there wasn't a lot from the last administration where took some of the heat. And in this administration, like Marco Rubio's not taking the heat. He's not taking, like Kash Patel and some of them, they'll get some of that during the nomination period. But Elon's taking it 24/7. He likes it. He's got a voice that drives all of them crazy because he's able to go to Twitter. How many people did you say he had? 210, 216 million? People on Twitter, is that what you said, Bell? 216 million?
Yeah, he's up to 216 and change because, when you have that many, change matters.
Change does matter. Most of us would just like to have the change at that point in time. He's almost got as many Twitter followers as actually, he's got more billions than he does Twitter followers. That's insane. But I want you to think about this because I like to look at stuff in a very macro, not a micro way at times. So many people want to look at it and it's just easy to come out and have the outrage, right? That's what the Democrats are doing. Everything's about outrage. It's overdone, overcooked. But he gives them this perfect person to yell at, to be mad at, to go after. And look, some of the stuff he's doing, I do have some, like you're in certain areas, that, you're under investigation for some stuff. National Relations Labor Board, several others, looking at, but you're running billion-dollar corporations. Every billion-dollar corporation is going to be under investigation at some point in time. That's just what it is. You're going to be sued. You're going to, all of those things. I remember one time, my buddy worked for a big pharmaceutical company, and they were out in Orange County, California, and they've got this huge building. And he and I were chatting and stuff, and I said, I go, because they had this other area that was just really cool. It's like 3 stories. And I said, what's that? He goes, those are our lawyers. I said, you're lawyers? He goes, we spend more money on lawyers at times than we do actually trying to do R&D, because that's we're a litigious society. So I expect some of that from Elon. Do I think he is maybe getting a little too much to run around with? Yeah, I think so. And I think Trump at some point in time will go, all right, we're going to pull it back a little bit. But right now, he's having at it. And when I hear people say, oh, he's at the Treasury and they've changed all the code and they couldn't do this, you do realize there were people out there that were supposed to turn some of those passwords and things over and they refused to do it. Secondly, he can change nothing. Look, as much as people want to change stuff, and I'm a big proponent in changing some of this stuff, that was never going to happen. But fear-mongering is a good thing if you're a Democrat right now, because you think in your mind, hey, this is it. And being on the team right now, the Democrats, and being in the minority, they're fear-mongering, and they're missing the point on all of this stuff. But it's the easiest thing to do. You've got zero responsibility. You can scream, cry, yell, jump up and down, do everything you want. And if things go great, well, you're not going to get any credit for it. But if they go sideways, you could say, I told you so. They're hoping for it going sideways. And they're mad at him. And they're mad at him because he's exposed stuff that's ridiculous. And so he is enemy number one at this moment in time. As much as Trump is doing his thing, having that heat off of him and allowing him to do some stuff, even say some stuff that doesn't carry the insanity of the news media 24/7, That's got to be a little relief.
And Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut, joins me now.
So I just think there's a tipping point at which you can't get your democracy back. And I see all of these very purposeful lines of effort that the Trump administration and Elon Musk are taking. And I think we just have to be right now at this moment on red alert mode. And what I see, right, is the normalization of violence when you're thinking about going out to a protest and you might get beat up by somebody who has immunity for violence in Trump's name.
Now, I'm trying to figure out what that means. Does that mean I'm allowed to punch somebody I disagree with and then yell, like I just yell out of nowhere, Donald Trump? And I don't know, is he a genie? Does he show up? Or do the police just say, oh, he said Donald Trump? We can't do anything. Once again, a lie. Hyperbole much? No, never. Continue, sir.
I don't think you can underestimate the impact of what's happening in our media infrastructure, where major platforms are either under the direct control or influence of the administration. And then what you're seeing now is an attempt to capture the funding streams of the government so that Elon Musk or Donald Trump can turn off your grant payment to your elementary school if it doesn't pledge loyalty to Donald Trump's political positions, or your mom's Social Security check if she goes online and says something critical of Elon Musk or Donald Trump. I mean, I just think if we don't stop this very soon, it is going to be hard to mount a credible political opposition in the not so distant future. So this is the moment to me.
So I just want to go over that. Where do we start with the BS? And if we were on podcast, I would not say BS. Where can we start? Well, let's see here. Does he have the power to apparently flick a switch if, let's just say your mom, we'll call her Nancy, right? Nancy tweets, likes, says something mean about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the worst. Whatever it is. They would then, magically be flagged? There would be some sort of special button, or you type something in that automatically cancels her Social Security check. If you believe that, and you know what's sad? There are people out there that believe that because they believe all of the things that they hear because they refuse to do research. They refuse to go out and look and say, maybe that's not true. And that's why I challenge you guys. I mean, look, some of you get upset with me. You're a liberal, Chad. You're all those things. Whatever. I mean, I hear that all the time. But I challenge you every day to challenge your beliefs, because if your beliefs can withstand actual criticism because you've got data and facts, that makes you it just solidifies what you believe. That gives you a lot of confidence. And a lot of people don't do that. The other thing he talked about is the media, which is kind of a tough day to do that, Chris, when you consider the fact that the USAID organization was spending more than a few bucks on Politico, New York Times. Now, this is through the years, but all of the media that they were spending money on for wacky subscriptions, which, have you guys never heard about, password sharing or something like that? The fact that you spend $8.2 million on on subscriptions, so everybody's getting a password, is tremendous. And Politico tried to blame Elon yesterday because their paychecks didn't go through. And there's a big, it's a long, crazy, convoluted thing about, was one group they were working with Politico that kind of pushed them into the whole thing about Zelensky and the phone call. And was that group actually part of the CIA? And were they, there's all of this stuff. But New York Times, Reuters, BBC, all of these wired news media getting any money, especially from an aid organization that's supposed to be about international development. Oh, yeah. Bernie Sanders actually talked, because he's always worried about something. And he did say something here. I'm like, I absolutely agree with Bernie when he was talking about the fact that, doing Bernie, hates me, Bernie. I want to talk about this. Talking about, hey, you know what? Yeah, I agree. We got to cut some stuff, and we got to take it on. Yeah, we do. Look, I'm glad that he's exposing some of the ridiculousness, but if we're going to get serious, and we're going to talk about it later, how we're going to actually try to cut some of this stuff down with our spending, we're not tackling anything. This USAID thing is nothing. It's nothing. It's less than 1% and then some. I mean, it is virtually nothing. Elon's can work around certain areas, but to get to the heart of it, there's three things you got to look at. And we will not touch some of these things, which is a sad situation. Because if we're going to be honest about ourselves, we're running out of money in programs like Social Security, Medicaid, and yes, when it comes to our giant bloated budget for the military, we've got to look at where we can cut there. We pay 10 times what retail is, and we sign contracts that are stupid that force us to continue to buy stuff that in many cases is obsolete. We don't even use, and they sit in warehouses. So we've got to look at some stuff, and those are like the big three that nobody wants to touch. What? Because it's the death of you politically. But you know what else is the death of you? Not saying something, and then when it goes sideways, everybody goes, what happens? What happened?